For 7 months, he had the toy. For 7 months. Every moment of rejection sent him running back to that oversized orangutan plushie, clinging to synthetic fur when real arms wouldn't hold him. For 7 months, the world watched through screens as a baby macaque dragged an IKEA stuffed animal across concrete, across dirt, across every corner of an enclosure that was both home and prison. But on March 17, 2026, something changed. Reports surfaced from Ichikawa City Zoo in Japan that Punch, the baby macaque who broke millions of hearts worldwide, had found someone. Not a stuffed companion this time. Someone real. Someone breathing. Someone who chose to stay close. The question everyone's asking now: what does this mean for the monkey who taught the world about loneliness? And what happens to the toy that saved him? Punch was born on July 26, 2025, at the height of a brutal Japanese summer. Temperatures inside the monkey enclosure at Ichikawa City Zoo climbed past comfortable levels. The heat wave that gripped the region that week wasn't just uncomfortable. It was a high-stress environment for new mothers in the troop. Dehydration, exhaustion, the constant pressure of maintaining status within a hierarchy of 50-plus macaques, all competing for shade, water, and social position. When Punch's mother gave birth, something went wrong. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was inexperience. Primate experts later pointed to age, health, and environmental stress as potential factors. Whatever the reason, she made a choice that primates sometimes make when survival is at stake. She prioritized her own health over her newborn. In the wild, this decision might mean death for the infant. In captivity, it meant something else entirely. Punch was abandoned within days of his birth. No nursing, no grooming, no contact. The keepers found him alone, vulnerable, still too young to regulate his own body temperature. If they hadn't intervened, he wouldn't have survived the week. Zookeepers at Ichikawa stepped in immediately. They bottle-fed him, hand-raised him, taught him the basics of survival that a mother would normally provide. But there was one instinct they couldn't replicate through feeding schedules and human warmth: the need to cling. Newborn macaques are born with a reflex. They grip onto their mother's fur from the moment they enter the world. Without that physical anchor, infant monkeys struggle to develop normal attachment behaviors. So the keepers gave Punch a substitute: an IKEA jungle skog orangutan plushie, nearly as large as he was, became his constant companion. At first, it was a training tool, but it quickly became something more. When other monkeys in the troop approached him and he didn't understand their signals, he'd retreat to the toy. When the adults disciplined him for breaking unspoken rules of monkey hierarchy, he'd bury his face in that orange fur. The plushie wasn't just comfort. It was his entire social safety net. Videos of Punch dragging the toy behind him or clutching it after being pushed away by other macaques went viral in late February 2026. The images struck a nerve across continents and cultures. Here was a creature whose loneliness was visible, tangible, wrapped in synthetic stuffing. People saw themselves in him. The kid who didn't fit in at school, the adult who felt out of place at work, the immigrant struggling to adapt, the person who moved to a new city and couldn't make friends. The universal experience of wanting connection and finding only emptiness. Social media exploded. The hashtag #HangInTherePunch trended globally. News outlets from CNN to Japanese television sent reporters. Psychology journals drew parallels to Harry Harlow's famous 1950s experiments, where infant monkeys chose soft cloth surrogates over wire ones that provided food, choosing comfort over sustenance. Punch was following the same pattern, decades later, in plain view of millions. By early March, the zoo was overwhelmed. Visitors from across Japan and around the world descended on Ichikawa. The zoo implemented 10-minute viewing limits and mandatory silence to reduce stress on the other 50-plus macaques. IKEA's Jungle Skog plushie sold out globally. Google added a search animation for Punch's name. A member of Blackpink flew in to visit him. But behind the viral fame, something quieter was happening inside that enclosure. Something the cameras didn't always catch. Punch was learning. Zookeeper Kosuke Kano, 24 years old, described the process in simple terms. Helping Punch learn the rules of monkey society and being accepted as a member was their most important task. Not fame management, not merchandise, integration. By early March, the zoo started noticing changes. Punch was clinging to the plushie less frequently. He began sitting with adult monkeys, not just near them, but among them. He was groomed by older troop members, a sign of acceptance in macaque social structure. He even climbed onto the back of another young monkey, a behavior that indicated trust and emerging friendship. Still, the road wasn't smooth. On March 5th, footage circulated showing an older peer wrestling Punch to the ground. The baby ran frantically to his plushie afterward, seeking the comfort he'd always relied on. The internet panicked. PETA issued statements calling for Punch to be moved to a wildlife reserve, citing stress and social depression. But the zoo held firm. On March 10th, they released a statement clarifying that what visitors perceived as bullying was actually normal macaque discipline. The way young monkeys learn boundaries, hierarchy, and acceptable behavior within the troop. Shunpei Miyakoshi, a zookeeper who worked closely with Punch, explained to CNN during a visit in mid-March that the rough videos alarming fans represented only a few minutes of Punch's day. The rest of the time, he was peaceful, curious, slowly integrating. The plushie was still there when he needed it, especially at night, when he slept, but during the day, he was spending more time exploring the social dynamics around him. And then, on March 17th, the reports started coming in. Punch had found someone. Details were sparse at first. The term girlfriend appeared in articles, though it's unclear whether this was a romantic attachment in any human sense or simply a close bond with another young macaque. The zoo hasn't clarified the exact nature of the relationship, and experts caution against anthropomorphizing primate social bonds. But what witnesses observed was undeniable. Punch spent extended time with a specific individual. He stayed close to her, or him. The sex of the companion hasn't been publicly confirmed. He followed this monkey across the enclosure. He didn't retreat to the plushie when this individual was nearby. Zookeepers noted specific behaviors that indicated bonding. Punch was seen sitting within arm's reach of this other macaque for periods exceeding an hour, significant for a species where personal space and social hierarchy are constantly negotiated. He made eye contact without displaying submission signals. He mirrored the companion's movements, a form of social learning that young primates use to integrate into group dynamics. The most striking observation, Punch riding on the companion's back. In macaque society, this behavior signals deep trust. It's vulnerable. The monkey being carried exposes itself to potential falls, to the mercy of the carrier. It's not something macaques do casually. For Punch to climb onto another monkey's back and stay there, moving through the enclosure together, this was more than proximity. This was attachment. The zoo hasn't released the name or age of this other monkey. They haven't confirmed whether this is a peer relationship, a mentorship from an older juvenile, or something else entirely. What they have confirmed is that Punch continues to make progress. He's been seen riding on the back of this companion, a posture that signals comfort and trust. He's been observed engaging in mutual grooming, one of the most fundamental bonding behaviors in primate societies. But here's what makes this story more complex than a simple happy ending. Punch still sleeps with the plushie every night. Zoo director Shigekazu Mizushina noted in early March that the next milestone they wanted to see was Punch bunched up with other monkeys while sleeping, a sign of full social integration, the kind of huddling behavior that indicates a macaque has been accepted not just as a daylight companion, but as a trusted member of the nighttime collective. That hasn't happened yet. The orangutan toy remains his nighttime security, even as his daytime world expands. Which raises the question observers are now asking. Is Punch developing two separate emotional systems? One for public interaction, where he's learning to navigate real social bonds, and one for private vulnerability, where the plushie still serves as his primary source of comfort? Or is this simply a transitional phase, the natural progression of an infant gradually weaning off a security object? The keepers watch both. They track how long Punch spends with the plushie versus with other monkeys. They note whether he seeks it out after stressful interactions or whether he turns to his new companion instead. They're looking for patterns that indicate either healthy development or potential attachment disorders that could affect his long-term social integration. So what does this girlfriend mean for Punch? Is this the turning point everyone's been hoping for? The narrative resolution where the lonely monkey finally finds belonging? Or is it just one more step in a long, uncertain process? A step forward that could still be followed by steps backward, by regression, by the unpredictable reality of trying to build social skills that were supposed to be learned from birth? Primate behavior experts caution against projecting human emotion onto these interactions. Rebecca Kleinberger of Northeastern University's Interact Animal Lab noted that humans interpret Punch's situation through biased lenses. We see emotional snippets, not the full picture. Lauren Robinson of Mount Holyoke College told NPR that infant primates raised without mothers never develop perfectly normally, even with companions. It's compromise, not ideal, but Punch is learning, adapting, surviving. Still, Punch's story has given millions of people something they didn't know they needed. A reminder that connection is possible even after profound rejection. That isolation isn't permanent. That the journey from loneliness to belonging is messy, slow, and often incomplete, but it's still worth taking. For now, Punch wakes up every morning in an enclosure that's both his world and his challenge. The sun rises over Ichikawa, casting shadows across Monkey Mountain, the outdoor exhibit where Punch and his troop navigate 50 square meters of artificial rocks, pools, and platforms designed to mimic natural macaque habitat. The plushie sits in the corner, waiting, always waiting. The other macaques move through their routines, some accepting him, some still wary, some actively engaging. And somewhere in that group, there's one individual who has chosen to stay close to him. One monkey who, for reasons we can't fully understand through human frameworks of attraction and companionship, has decided that Punch belongs. The zoo continues to monitor him daily. Keepers document interactions, measure distances, track social behaviors, building a database to answer questions without obvious solutions. Visitors still line up for 10-minute windows, phones pressed against glass. Some come to verify what viral videos show. Others see themselves in him, finding hope in watching Punch navigate rejection and slowly learn to connect. A few just want to witness resilience in real time. The next chapter unfolds day by day. Will he fully integrate, becoming indistinguishable from other young macaques? Will he outgrow the plushie or keep it forever? Will this relationship deepen into a lifelong bond or prove fleeting? And perhaps the question that matters most, if Punch can make this journey from abandonment to connection, from synthetic comfort to real companionship, what does that say about healing after early trauma? The keepers don't have those answers yet, but they're watching, documenting every interaction, building a record of what it looks like when an orphaned primate tries to find his way back to belonging through the slow, painful process of learning to trust again. Tomorrow, the routine starts again. The enclosure opens. The monkeys wake. Punch will make another choice, the plushie or the company. Maybe both. Maybe neither. The only certainty is that millions of people across the globe will be watching, hoping that the monkey who taught the world about loneliness is finally learning what it means to belong, and wondering if his journey might somehow illuminate their own. If you want to follow Punch's journey as it continues, subscribe and turn on notifications. His story isn't over yet.